note that. But without further ado, I will hand over to Chris Thorpe, who will speak a bit more about the Open Referrals project and the impact. So I will shut up now.
That's lovely. Thank you very much. Lovely to meet you all. Wish we were all in a room doing this, but one day, someday soon, hopefully. I'd like to reframe the sort of question for today a tiny bit and say, how do we help the voluntary sector to implement open referrals so that they can better help those most in need? Now, open referral, for those of you who don't know, is an open standard. An open standard is just an open way of describing the same thing in a consistent way. And for you to understand the potential of open referral, I'm going to give you a little example that you might all know of what happens when an open standard is used to describe similar data. So the best example of this that we've probably all used is around searching for a film to go and see and what time. Now, previously, before all the cinemas used an open standard and Google indexed them all, you'd have to go from cinema website to cinema website to find screenings and see if the film you wanted to see was on. And for those of us who are a bit older, you maybe had to look in your local paper or you had to phone them. But what happened around film screenings was that a standard called the schema.org event was created by a large number of people. It's an open standard. Anyone can use it for free. Anyone can find out how to describe their data in that particular way. And all the cinemas who obviously want their screening times to be shown up in Google search and other people's search, publish their data in this event standard. And Google and other search engines go and index it and scrape it, and they create what's known as a federated search, which means that they include all the data that they can from different places. And what it means is that now it's really easy for you to find out when a particular film is on and where it's on. And you can then, as a user, find the times and the places that work for you. Now, there's a but to this, which is, you know, the old adage that if you're not on the internet and you're not findable, do you exist anymore? And so cinemas that don't publish their film times in this standard can't turn up in these search results, and that disadvantages them significantly. And so there's a real benefit to publishing and a real penalty to not publishing in an open standard. So that's a lovely story with a small cautionary tale attached to it. What does that, why are we all here? And how's it relevant? Well, about 2 years ago, MHCLG, which is a UK government department, the Department for Ministries, Housings, Communities and Local Government, a bit of a mouthful, which is why we call it MHCLG from now on, funded some research with some local government councils to try and understand how best to support vulnerable people and how best for those organisations to refer those vulnerable people to different service providers, like the lovely charities in the voluntary sector. And what they did as part of the discovery work was they realised that publishing this data in an open standard about which charities did what and for which individuals could have quite a revolutionary effect. Lots of local governments have directories of charities who support people and other organisations who support people. But that data is locked up within that local council. It can get out of date. It's often on people's hard drives. It's occasionally in people's memory. So what the project then moved on towards is to select an open standard that existed in the US called Open Referral to create standardized dictionaries and standardized directories of services that local organizations could reuse. Now, every council has one of these directories. There's an enormous amount of duplication of data in there. And there are some real problems, which is the data may be out of date. It might be that that charity no longer offers that service or has a new service. And all of these different directories go out of sync with each other over time. And so what the project that MHCLG have funded is doing going forward is working with folks like us at CAST to make the standard approachable and usable by the voluntary sector as well as by local government. To give you an update on where the standard's going, it's currently in for approval with the Government Digital Service for it to be a national standard for data. that will be used by central government and local government. It's also currently being looked at by NHSX, which is the sort of like the forward technologies division of the NHS, who are looking at Open Referral and also Open Active, which is run by Sport England, as two standards that can go together to make up everything that's needed for social prescribing. So at some point, not in the far distant future, it will be possible to create federated searches. Which is similar to the cinema search example that I gave you earlier. And by not far in the future, we're talking about maybe a year and a half to 2 years. And there is need from local government to speed this up because their budgets are being restricted. And there is need from central government and the NHS to speed it up because everyone feels that social prescribing is a better way than using lots of medicines. The work that we've done with SICA is about putting charities in control of their own data. So what we really want is for charities to be able to publish in a really, really easy way, data about the services that they deliver, the capacity of those services, and how they'd be recompensed for it. And that's the piece of work that we've prototyped with SICA. And the reason why we're making it really easy to do is that we want every charity to be able to publish this data about themselves. If you think back to the cautionary tale that I mentioned earlier, if your service isn't listed, if you aren't publishing data about what you do, who you do it for, when it's on, how much it costs and things like that, how will people know how to find you and to use your service? And we know that charities give the very best service for those in need. It's at the heart of their being. It has been for a long while, and we hope it will be going forward. But for us to take this step into this world where there is one search index around the services that are available in the UK, we'll need you to all get on board and publish with us and with some of the other providers that are around in the place. And what we really want is for there to be one place that you control the data about the services you provide, that all these other directories can then pull in and can have this federated search, and that those most in need will be able to find out about how to use you, or will be referred to you by the statutory sector, either the NHS or local government or central government. So hopefully that's given you a bit of a background as to why it's important, and a tangible example, albeit not in this world, of how powerful these standards can be. And I'll now leave it over to the others to talk a bit more.
Thank you very much, Chris. No, it's good to hear it from CAS perspective, and yeah, definitely a worthy project and worthwhile cause. I will now pass over to Rab to speak a bit about the work that SICA did and talk about potentially about you know, where we see this going. So Rab, if I can hand over to you. You want to unmute yourself?
Thank you very much. Great, can you hear me okay? Good, super, okay. Thanks, Chris, and thanks, Iona. That was really interesting, Chris. In terms of the technology, I suppose I'd make the analogy, rather than the directories that Chris described, what we talk about is registers. And registers have been around for an awful long time, as long as really government's been around. I mean, birth, death and marriages, parish registers are fairly common. I mean, if you Google them on gov.uk, you find literally thousands of registers exist. And their purpose is to be a single source of truth. So if you want to find out in the foreign countries and capitals and so forth, the Foreign Office holds a register that people can access. It gives you a single source of truth, or as Chris Thorpe and I call it, a canonical truth. So it's not a new thing, but rather than having to go to a register or a parish priest to get your name in the book, we use digital technologies and modern digital technologies to register to be opened up, and people can maintain their own data on the register, and they can decide who might see that data. So in terms of the work we've been doing in publishing and searching using the standard that Chris referred to, you can decide that everyone might want to see the services you offer, but you might want to restrict the people, or you may not. You may not. You may want to make it within the geographic area of certain organisations, and you may want to restrict who can actually make a referral to you. Perhaps because you only take referrals from the councils that fund you or the NHS organisations. So it gives you, the third sector body, much more control over your operations, and it takes away the sort of middle person. I mean, I think I was reading a story, I think it was in Bristol, where they actually employ someone to go around and check if all the charities on the directories they hold are still actually in operation. So as Chris mentioned, and he knows a lot more about it than me, it's very hard and expensive to maintain that source of truth. And of course, there's a plethora of them because, you know, intermediary organisations and councils, everyone's trying to understand what's happening in their local region. And many charities are national, many are very small, just one or two people. So it really is quite a significant problem. So we've been delighted to get involved working with Chris, who's spoken before me, and Chris will speak after me. It's been a really interesting project, and we've built an alpha, a prototype that allows people to publish their service in a consistent way, and it makes it a lot easier to search for those services. But what I'd like to just show you, just a little video for a couple of minutes, is last year, and really to some extent for us in SICR, it was a springboard into this area. We were set a challenge by one of the health boards in Scotland, late discharge from hospital, which is particularly during the pandemic, but even without that, a very big issue in the NHS, how those delayed discharges could be reduced by using digital technology to better utilise the third sector. So we produced a report and all the sort of stuff that you'd expect on the back of that project, which finished November. Hospitals, the council, and through the council. And can you still hear me, Iona?
Yes, carry on. Sorry, the Wi-Fi just went out there a bit. Carry on.
Hello. Oh, sorry, Iona. I was. Yeah. Are you okay? Thumbs up. Yeah. Yep. So okay, great. So what we found that there was a pathway into what is called up here through the council and from a commercial providers, but there really wasn't a pathway into the voluntary sector. That was done by telephone or email and in real sort of quite inappropriate and insecure ways. So, Madam Chairman, if you wouldn't mind just popping up the video, we'll just run this a couple of minutes, quite snappy, and you can see what you think.
Great, I will do. And yes, apologies, Rab. Before this, we did note that the Wi-Fi was breaking up a bit. It always happens because normally your Wi-Fi is okay. So apologies for that. But if everyone can see my screen video, yeah. So I just want to show this short.
Well over 1 million people aged over 65 are at risk or suffering from malnutrition in the UK. At the last estimate, the cost of the NHS was around £20 billion per annum. This condition cannot be fully treated in hospital, and so is an ideal opportunity to arrange support services from the voluntary sector on discharge from hospital. But making this arrangement is not currently straightforward. A trust platform is required to allow citizens to share sensitive information with health, statutory care and voluntary sector providers. Take the example of malnutrition sufferer Mary and her dietitian Julie, who has used the Malnutrition Universal Screening Tool Score, MUST score, to diagnose Mary's condition. Before discharge from hospital, Julie finds a certified voluntary sector service provider for Mary. She works with Mary to complete the necessary application form and store her information in a safe and secure digital wallet, which allows the service to be initiated. Mary's son takes control of her wallet and shares data with those who need it. FoodTrain helps Mary eat well at home and monitors her condition, including her MUST score. They raise a flag when her condition deteriorates. Mary is readmitted to hospital and her MUST score data is visible to her doctors. Mary is diagnosed with celiac disease and, when discharged, this is added to her wallet so that FoodTrain is made aware. Sicker delivers safe and secure data sharing, digitally signed by trusted parties, and the patient stays in control of their own data. The availability of better data can reduce delay and risk of further healthcare treatment, and Sicker enables effective collaboration between the health and voluntary sectors.
Thanks, Simona. I switched my video off in the hope that that might improve my audio. I don't have too much more to say. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it does, definitely.
Good. So I hope you find that interesting. But I think, so our ambition, as Iona mentioned at the beginning, we've really, this interesting what we've done so far in terms of open referrals, but we'd like to move it on beyond, well, we'd like to test out connecting referrers with service providers, but also that sort of more intimate data exchange that was described in the video, where there's actually useful data compared between the NHS and the third sector, and indeed loop back in from the third sector to the NHS. And we think that's the way that the third sector could provide even better services by more fully integrating with the NHS and indeed with the councils as well. So I will shut up now and hand back to you, Iona. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rab. Yes, I've seen that video a lot, and it is actually my voice, in case anyone was thinking I'm some sort of master ventriloquist or something. But now I will pass on to Chris Mackey from the Alliance, who will talk a bit about the Alice platform up here and give her a better explanation than I can. So without further ado.
Yeah, thanks, Iona. Good afternoon. Yeah, my name's Chris Mackey. I'm the Alice Programme Manager at the Health and Social Care Alliance for Scotland. So the Alliance is a third sector intermediary organisation, and it's got a membership of over 3,000 organisations and individuals. Alice is a local information system for Scotland, and it is going for about 11 years, in fact. I'm only recently joined the Alliance team, but Alice has been going a while. It is different than most directories. It's certainly a crowded marketplace, that's for sure. Everyone's got a directory, but Alice is different in the sense that it is a crowdsourced information resource. So information is provided by organisations, from individuals, and we encourage people to take control of their own information and to ensure that that's kept up to date. There is a team of 5 within the Alice programme, but believe me, that the task is much bigger if we were to take that top-down approach. But in line with the sort of values of the voluntary sector, we believe that people should be in control of putting their own information on there, making sure that it's up to date, and therefore it gives them a platform which they wouldn't otherwise have. We're particularly interested in third sector information. We're particularly interested in health and wellbeing information in a broad sense. So we have services listed on there. We have groups. We have activities. Everything from the big national charities right down to the lunch clubs, the food banks, the walking groups, these kind of things. And at the last time of counting, it was well over 5,000 of these resources actually held within the Alice database. And what that means is that the sector has a profile. So when we say a local information system for Scotland, what we mean is, yes, it is local, but it is also national as well, in the sense that there's organisations that will reach right across the country. And then there'll be others who are very, very much a local resource. And if you visit the ALICE website, alice.org, the first thing you'll be asked to do is to enter a place name or a postcode. So right from the start, you're getting information about services and groups and resources that are local to you. But as I say, it's not limited to that. It is designed to give you access to information for services, helplines, and so on that might be wider regional services or right across Scotland. As I said before, everyone's got a directory, and I think if you're in this kind of business, then data quality is high on the list of priorities, and that's certainly a challenge for us, and work that we have ongoing really, to make sure that people, as I say, take control of their own data, but make sure that it's kept up to date. We're interested in the Open Referral project. We're interested in Open Referral standards, but we're also interested in open data. You can access our data via an API, a public API. That's an application program interface. It's just a technical way of getting into the database, and then if you have the necessary know-how, you can use it for your own website, your own purposes. But the data is open in that sense, and the source code of the ALICE platform is also open. One of the biggest pieces of work that we have is a partnership with NHS24. So if you visit the NHS Inform website in Scotland, there's a directory of all sorts of different services, from GPs right across the board to different health and wellbeing services, and they actually pull data from ALICE via our API. So we're visible. The services that ALICE lists are visible on the NHS Inform website through the service directory. We're always looking to partner up with other agencies. The Alliance is the Alliance for Health and Social Care. So we're interested in partnerships with anybody who's in that space, and whether it's to use the API or to work together for the general aim of having information available to people when they need it. Yeah, as I said, ALICE has been around for 11 years, and we're just embarking on a new strategy, a new three-year strategy. And there's 4 sort of planks to the strategy, which is to increase the amount of data that's available on ALICE, and therefore that our partners can access. We want to have better data, better quality data. We want a better experience for users and our editors, and we want more users. So we want more traffic, but we also want more people to get involved in this ground up, crowdsourced information resource in Scotland. So that's the sort of summary of ALICE and where we're at just now. You can hear the synergies between what we're doing, what SICR are up to, and TAST as well. So very happy to be involved in this joint piece of work and to see it progress.
Thank you very much, Chris. And yeah, it's good to hear about ALICE as a sort of, and we almost see it as a bit of a case study for, you know, that collaboration between local authorities and the voluntary sector, and yeah, definitely presents some opportunities for collaboration. So I would like to mention at this point that we will have time for Q&A at the end. And now I want to go into the second half of the session, which is more a collaborative bit of the session, and whereby my colleagues Alex and Katrina want to show you the sort of output of the phase 1 of the project, of the Open Referral project, and what we've actually produced. And then Alex will also hopefully spend some time with you guys, getting some collaboration and hopefully gathering some of your insights and thoughts on the project, and you know, some of the issues with the referral process at the moment, and validate some of our findings that we've had so far being involved in this project through our research. So without further ado, I will pass over to Katrina and Alex. If they're on the call, if Katrina's on the call.
I am, I'm here, sorry.
Great. No, don't worry. And I will mute myself and share my screen.
Okay, good. Thank you, Iona. So, as you know and mentioned earlier, we got involved in the project, and what we've built is based on the Open Referral standard. So I've just put up some screenshots rather than going through the whole system. So what you're seeing there, the whole idea behind the system is that you would be able to create an account either as a service manager, for instance, for the voluntary sector provider, or as a social subscriber who wants to then go in and search for a particular provider or for a service that's available in your area. So this first screen is obviously just the page showing one of the charities. Obviously the data that we've put in there is just pretend data, just for to demonstrate how the system would work. So as a service manager in a voluntary sector, you want to confirm your identity, and then you'll have a login so that you can use the system securely, and the same for a social subscriber. And then what you've got the facility to do is, as a service manager, you can publish your information about your charity, but you can also publish information about the services that you provide. So on the page that you're seeing up there, that's Edinburgh Daycare Charity, and they've also got 3 services that they are publishing. There's also a link to their website if you wanted to know information about there. I don't know if you go to the next page for me, please. So this is our search facility. You've got the option of searching by postcode, so you can put in the postcode and put in distance around that postcode, and that will bring up the search results. You can also use a keyword or a category search, so the keyword could be home care, housing, transport, just whatever the facility that you're looking for, and that will bring up all the services that are available in that area. Now, as part of that, we've also created what we've called the playlist, and that means that facilities that you found or services that you found that you want to save for future, that you're going to be getting in contact with regularly, you can save those to your playlist, and they will always be on your search page so that you can just go back in and log on to them anytime you need to. And then the next page is just to give you an idea of what a services page will look like. So this is Dementia Daycare. It was, as you saw before, provided by the Edinburgh Daycare Charity. It gives you the address. We have updated the facility to hide the location, if necessary, of some of the services that we provide or that the charity can provide. Just in terms of vulnerability, but you can access email from this page, you can visit the website from this page. It gives you a little bit of information about the charity and also shows the other services provided by that organisation. Now the service provider also has the ability to manage the service availability, and obviously there's a map there as well so that you can see the location. You can update the information. Each organisation would have administrators who can then provide more information or change the information, add more services and update the services as time moves on. So I'll now pass back to Iona. As I said, that's just a quick sort of run through of the system that we've set up so far.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's great to see it actually, because we've been involved for a while. So Alex, I think you're up next, and I think you have your screen, because I won't try and I'll hand over to you.
Perfect. Okay, good stuff. So I'm just going to share my. Can everyone hear me, by the way?
Yep.
Yeah, can you hear me all right? Perfect. That's great. So I'm just going to share my screen quickly. What we wanted to do, you know, throughout this project, we've been kind of working quite hard to make sure that we're not just building software or a tool, we're actually building it based on the user needs. So I just wanted to spend a few moments kind of thinking about some of those user needs. There's a few slides, and just quite like to get a bit of your participation in this. So we've got a couple of questions for you, and the way that we're going to answer the questions is through a app. So if everyone could grab a mobile phone or an iPad or something like that, and if you go onto the browser and type in www.menti.com, you should come to a page that prompts you to type a code in, and then you should be able to see the code at the top of the screen here. So 5332207. Okay, so that's awesome. So people are starting to indicate that they're here. If you could just answer this question by kind of tapping your name into the little box there, that'd be great. And yeah, we should start to see the numbers come up as everyone kind of gets on board with Menti. Okay, so I think we've got about 25 people there. Just very quickly, before we go on any further, 26, the numbers are going up. Is anyone really struggling, or are people doing okay? I think generally we appear to be doing okay. Okay, in that case, we'll give it another moment or so, just if anyone's catching up. And then we'll just move on to the first question. So we're going to move on to the first thing that I just wanted to find or to have a think about. So we've talked about it a little bit. Both Chris's and Rab talked about some of the issues associated with making kind of referrals to the voluntary sector. And what we wanted to do was just spend a few moments getting your perspective on some of these issues. So I've noted down 8 issues here, and what I was going to ask you to do is rank them by starting with the most significant. Now I'll just do a quick run through of the 8 issues, and hopefully that will just clarify them for everyone. So the first issue that we've got is managing demand when there's limited capacity. So I think quite often voluntary sector services are under a bit of pressure, that they receive more demand than they're able to supply, and that becomes a problem for them. I think the next one then is generating demand when there's spare capacity. So obviously for voluntary sector organisations and services, kind of making people aware that they've got a service and it's available and it's got space is probably quite important. I think there's potentially issues around unsuitable referrals. That's kind of either from the social prescribing side, where people are making referrals to organisations but not quite understanding what the organisation or service do, or the other way around, when as a voluntary sector service you receive a referral that's unsuitable for the service that you provide. The fourth one, we've started to vote already. The fourth one was awareness of the organisations and services. We then had issues with tech and data privacy limitations, so being able to kind of transfer information. We had the potential issue of digital access, so potential service users not being able to get hold of a device and therefore access some of the services. And then we had the issue of transport, being able to get someone to an actual service physically. So I think kind of you guys are way ahead of me. We've started to rank these in priority order. So what I'll do is I'll just give you a moment to kind of carry on doing that ranking. I can see everyone's kind of looking at their phones and going through the questions. So I'll just shut up for a couple of moments and let you do that. I would add, I might ask a couple of people to talk about how they've ranked some of these issues. So if you could be prepared to speak a little bit, that would be really cool. So we'll just give you a couple more moments to complete this question, then we'll see if we can have a quick discussion about some of the results. I just want to check, is anyone struggling, or is everyone all right with the tech? Okay with the tech? Awesome. Okay, so we've got 21 responses through. I think we'll just have a quick pause here, and okay, so I mean we've got a few things, well, quite a few things that have merged as kind of, you know, on a fairly equal basis in terms of their priorities. So to kick off with awareness of the voluntary sector organisations and services that might be available. So I guess this talks to Chris's point that he made about, you know, kind of cinema listings and those sorts of things. I wonder if someone who kind of ranked that very highly could just kind of pass comment on that point particularly. Have we got someone from a voluntary sector organisation who struggles to kind of raise awareness, or from the other side, like someone from a social prescribing perspective who kind of struggles to know what's available to them when they're trying to refer people to services?
Hi there. My name's George. I'm from the Children's Society, and I manage a crisis support program, which is about trying to join up crisis provision delivered by the voluntary sector with the offers across kind of local authority services as well. And I put that as number one. I think one of the things we've found in the last year is that organisations there can be a lack of awareness of specific offers that organisations have and how they might be able to access them, and that goes kind of across the VCS, but also from the local authority out into the VCS. And sort of linked to that is often a bit of a lack of coherence of sort of multiple, someone might need to access multiple services, and that might require multiple routes in, which can make it complicated. Yeah, so the kind of prevalence and availability of information around what's available and how to access it is pretty important from your perspective, George. Yeah. Okay, that's super helpful. So we've then got kind of a few things that follow on from that. So the motivation to publish information and keep it up to date. I mean, I guess kind of Chris Mackey, this is something that you guys live and breathe from an analyst perspective, and it sounds like it's one of your strategic objectives to try and fix that moving forwards, right?
Yes, big issue. There's two sort of approaches, I would say. One is a tech fix, which is basically one that automatically will email you when your service is aged by a certain amount. So say it's not been updated, or it's not been confirmed as being up to date within the past 12 months or something like that. And then the second approach is really in the engagement the training side of things, which is really just telling people and letting them understand that it's important for their own profile, but it's important for the resource, for Alice to have information that's either been updated recently or has been confirmed to be correct within the last 12 months. But I suppose it's encouraging people to do that when the changes occur.
Yeah,
because that will affect access to the service, and nobody wants there to be any wrinkles in that respect.
Yeah, no, for sure. So kind of leading out from that, we've then got some kind of points here around managing demand when there's limited capacity, and then kind of handling unsuitable referrals. I kind of predict there might be a bit of kind of connectivity between these 2 points. So just wonder whether anyone could just talk to that very briefly and kind of pass a comment on that, perhaps.
I'm happy to come in, Alec. I'm John McDonald. I'm from SCVO, but I'm involved with an NHS-led project called NPOWER, a big element of which is social prescribing. And for me, managing demand, I had a higher priority than on the chart here. I think it's for me, it was the biggest issue. And it does tie in with unsuitable referrals. So, people are looking for an individual who needs something and to connect them with the right thing. And sometimes there are difficulties with that. But often the most popular services. So for us, where we're looking at older people, and I'd say probably if you look at all the panoply of services that are available, the thing that we found people want is things like befriending services or connecting with people and forming a relationship. And there's no shortage of demand, but there is a shortage of supply, and you can often hit a brick wall. So we have to work out how to get over that, or how to build capacity for organizations, particularly very small community groups, to build that capacity to deliver a service. So
No, that's very helpful, John. Thank you very much for that. We're going to kind of move on to my next question, if that's all right. So the next question is kind of structured in a similar way, but what I'd like you to do is kind of rank some of the following opportunities in the same sort of way, starting with the most useful. So we've got a few on here. I'll rattle through them quickly. To begin with, engagement and uptake of voluntary sector services on behalf of the statutory sector. The second one is bypassing statutory sector tech and data privacy issues. Then we've got publicising voluntary sector service, the voluntary sector and its services. Having reliable and complete information to support referrals. Being able to manage capacity and demand in the way that we've just been talking about. Having an end-to-end technical solution from referral through to kind of reporting of outcomes, informing local health and social care policy by understanding kind of how referrals are working and what's out there, and then the means of kind of providing some of the kind of funding that might support the transport and technology costs associated with making and kind of supporting a referral for an individual. So if I could ask you to go through the same exercise of kind of ranking these opportunities, that'd be really excellent. So just give you a couple more minutes to get a few more responses in. I think we had kind of 23 odd for the last one. We've got 13 so far. So if you could kind of keep on going and cracking through the questions, that'd be awesome. Okay, so just while we've got some more responses coming into this, maybe we'll just start looking at some of the prioritization that we've got. We've got 19 responses, so we're all good. So the first one is having reliable and complete information to support referrals. So clearly an opportunity around that. I wonder if someone who kind of ranked that as the highest opportunity or the most useful opportunity, if someone could just speak to that very quickly.
Hi, it's Gilly.
Hi, Gilly.
I ranked that one as the top one because I felt like if you get that right, then you can avoid the problem of inappropriate referrals or incorrect referrals, and that having reliable information as well also indicates that you would be able to say whether there is capacity within that organisation to receive that referral. So yeah, for me, it felt like one of the most important ones.
That's awesome. Thank you for that, Gilly. I guess so. The next few responses. So we had statutory sector engagement and the uptake of voluntary sector services. So that kind of links to some of the issues that we were talking about before. Managing capacity and demand, I think we've talked about, and then publicising the voluntary sector and its services. I think kind of, we've talked about that a fair amount. The fifth one, I just wanted to dwell on this a little bit because it's something that I think we're super interested in terms of the next step for the Open Referrals tool. So I guess the thought I'd just like to test with people is whether kind of having a technology solution, a bit like the tool that Katrina showed us a few moments ago, but extending that technology solution so that a social prescriber was actually able to make a referral to a voluntary sector service. The voluntary sector service was then able to kind of receive and process the referral and then report on the activity and the outcomes for the individual following the kind of provision of that service. I just wanted to just dwell on that and understand from people whether they thought that would be kind of a useful thing to have access to, I guess, on the two sides of both the social prescribing side and the kind of voluntary sector service side.
We're getting some messages through, Alex, on the chat actually.
Sorry, I hadn't seen that.
No, don't worry. So Emma Knox agrees, definitely. And there are also just some comments around, some of the issues. So training and prompting to update and publish info is okay if Alice is the only directory in town. There are numerous local and national directories that orgs have to update and monitor. It's probably a full-time job, which many organisations don't have capacity for, which is, so, it only works if there's one recognised or authorised directory, and that's it's a very good point.
Well, I think I might just like to pick up on that for a moment. So Emma, if you're there, whether you mind talking to that point a little bit. So I think what you're saying here is that if you're trying to, from the social prescribing side, if you're trying to work through a whole bunch of directories to try and look at what's available, that's a real pain. And then from the kind of publication side, if on the voluntary sector side, it's a real pain to keep all these things up to date. That's kind of the point that we're making. So within a locality, you'd need to have assurance that the tool works across the locality and has a degree of kind of completeness and robustness. Is that fair enough?
I suppose it's more subtle than that. I'm basically saying that you need to do a good sales job because there's hundreds of directories, and if we have to keep an eye on them all and update them all, it's just impossible. But if there is a recognised, authorised directory, one-stop shop, it makes our life much easier. but it's to say that will be yours or someone else's.
Yeah.
Right. Can I briefly come in on that one, Alex?
Yeah, for sure, Chris.
I think this is where this sort of one source of truth sort of thing comes in. There will be lots of directories, but if one of them is defined by the charity, such as yours, Emma, as being the definitive record for your charity, then other ones can take data from that. They can federate the data from that. It'll be published as open data, and the other directories will be able to pull data from that. So the value of just publishing to the standard and stating that this is your definitive record means that other people will be able to use that one piece of data, rather than you having to go around to lots of other places and update your data in all of those. So yeah. The aim is really to remove that problem that you've isolated there, Emma.
I totally get that, but how do we decide which is the preferred?
I can't possibly tell you that ours would be the best, because that wouldn't be fair, because there are lots of others that would be good. But you're
doing a good job so far.
No, but but Alice might be more appropriate for you, or we might be more appropriate, or whoever. It doesn't really matter who it is, as long as you mark that that's your record of truth. And then sort of when all of these directories are being aggregated, then they'll know which one you're updating all the time.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful, Chris. Thank you. Thank you for that. I think Iona's about to tell me that I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna stop my screen share and probably I think back over to you, Iona.
Thank you very much, Alex. Yeah, we've got 5 minutes left, and I don't want to go over time and keep anyone's time. There has, I guess it'd be a good segue into any final Q&As. I do see there are some on the chat, specifically one. Do you have any data, possibly from the example of Alice, as to how regularly, frequently, or up-to-date organisations contribute information to their pages? I'm wondering if maybe that can be, Chris Mackey, maybe can take that up with you offline, if you do have any data around that, around how often information is contributed to Alice, and the maintenance around that. I am just looking here. So I just want to open the floor to the speakers, and if they've got any final remarks. I know that Chris Tharp wanted to give a little shout out at the end, so. Over to Chris.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for pulling this together today. Really grateful to everyone at SICA for all the hard work that they've done, and for everyone who has come in from the voluntary sector and helped in different sessions like today around user needs. Thanks also to Chris and Alice from being so involved, and also John from SCVO, who was involved in earlier sessions. I should say that this piece of work has been funded by the National Lottery Community Fund. It forms part of the work that CAST has been delivering on behalf of the National Lottery Community Fund as part of the digital response to COVID-19. And this is one of several of our projects that are all around reuse and use of data standards and open standards. So as part of the programme, several hundred charities have been funded to create digital solutions, but with the extra twist that they have to make them open sourced or available under Creative Commons licensing, and all of their outputs under that as well. So there are now over 500 pieces of openly shared information that will help other charities to deliver similar services to that. And this work from SICA forms part of our work around what are the shared services that we'll need as the sector as a whole. And other projects on that strand of work include sending notifications, and the alpha for that is just about to open. So if any charities want to understand how to send SMS messages cheaply and securely to users, get in touch with us about that. Another project is around searching. So the sort of full text search and geographical searches that are part of the application that SICA have shown today. And then there's a final piece which is around charities who provide guidance to other charities. There's now an open sourced Drupal installation that will give you a resource hub out of the box that you can host yourself. And we're looking into how we can do sort of shared hosting for charities. But I just wanted to sort of round off by saying thank you to the National Lottery Community Fund for the funding for this, and thank you to everyone at SICAR and everyone who's shared openly about their needs and thoughts and priorities within all of this.
Thank you very much, Chris. And yeah, thank you for for participating and everyone else for participating. There are some great insights coming through on the chat. We've run out of time, but we will capture all this and you know, make sure it's part of our research into the project going forward. And just to close off, because it is 2 p.m, we will be following up with all of you with the recording of the session and keeping you up to date with the project and how you can get involved. We have all your email addresses from signing up. So thank you very much again for everyone for participating, and have a good rest of the day. And if you want to leave your contact details in the chat, everyone will be able to see it and capture, you know, very much the project's about collaboration. So very much feel free to put your email addresses in. And we'll share ours as well afterwards. Thank you.